Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grassroot Chat feature. So that we talk about anything we want to talk about, whether it's trending or not, whether it's interesting or not, but it is interesting to us. Welcome, Big Steve, back to the studio. He wasn't with us the last day. Hope everything all good, sir. Everything nice.
Yeah, all good, all good, all good. Glad to be back.
Good. You missed the angry one talking about how Arsenal is crap and you need to buy a new striker. And he actually missed you because he knew you would not agree with anything he said. How are you, the angry one?
Yeah, I'm alright, man.
All right, good. And of course, representing the blue side of England. I don't know what that is, but it looks like an all right shirt. Mr. Waddle Hinder. What is going on? You good?
It's an England shirt, yeah. 90s, right? Yeah.
You had
blue
England,
side.
right?
Like a Man City fan, or I don't know where Chelsea. I don't know where you're at with the blue side.
No. None of those things, man. They're two crap clubs. Anyway, people, the topic today, what we're going to discuss, based on what we had seen from the weekend and what we hearing in the news and all that story. I did ask a question about the pulling power of Arsenal in our last episode. So please check, watch, like, subscribe, and all that wonderful good stuff. And then today, what we're talking about is two big giants, or well, they used to be big giants, big clubs in the English Premier League, Arsenal and Man United, struggling for fourth position this season and looking like they need to definitely go into the transfer market. So, on Talk Sports, while I was listening, Gabi Agbolonho, I don't know if you guys remember that wonderful individual, he said that at the current time and the transition with different teams, that he's pretty certain that players would rather join Villa than join Man United. Because Villa are building stuff, Gerard, they have Gerard there. And then it got us to thinking here in Grassroot Chat. Have Man United and Arsenal lost their pulling power? Can they still attract the same wonderful players? Is it about the football? Is it about the manager? Is it about the global power? So we'll start with Arsenal. Alphabet, alphabetical. So if Arsenal, big team, second biggest team in North London.
What?
Sorry?
Oh, man, starting there,
Yeah, I mean the table says you're the second biggest team in North London. I'm just saying what it is. So second biggest team in North London, Red Side, Invincibles, yada yada yada, all good.
No. Don't yada 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 Invincibles. Put some respect on that.
Okay. Invincibles! Yeah, and all good. So now the thing is here, without the fourth position, there are certain things that attract world-class players. Champions League, ability to win trophies, playing for a certain manager, playing in a particular city. Arsenal seem to have the city part and, the big name, the global attraction. But based on past history in terms of titles and trophies in the past couple of years and having an up and down season, Big Steve, do you think Arsenal still has the pulling power as it used to have? Do you think players will actually choose Arsenal over a whole lot of other clubs, regardless of whether they're in Champions League or not? Or do Arsenal need these star players more than the players actually need Arsenal?
Well, that's a lot there, have they lost their pulling power? Yes, they have. They're not playing European football. There's a project going on, so they have to sign young players. They haven't leveraged the things that they could have done, like keeping Arsene Wenger a part of the club, the same way Man United used Alex Ferguson to try and draw players. And it's all very new. Edu is technical director, Mikel Arteta is manager. You really need young players who's trying to establish themselves, who will come to the club. To get established players, I think they're looking at Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, not Arsenal.
Do you agree with that, the angry one? Do you think it's just a case of a lot of things that happen from the board and the big boys upstairs? Or do you think in terms of over the years, Arsenal investing properly? Because I believe Arsenal, in terms of finance, that is it a case of trying to restructure their way more like instead of going for the big names out there? Or is it just a case of these big names don't want to come to Arsenal?
They don't want to come. They don't want to come to Arsenal because we're not in Champions League first and foremost. So you're not going to play on the biggest stage of them all. And also, I don't think we're really an attractive proposition in terms of if you want to progress your career in the here and now, because you've got Arteta, probably relatively unknown outside of the UK for sure, unless you're Spanish or something. He's not exactly a top class manager yet. There's no Pep, there's no Arsene. He's living a Poch, to be fair. So there is no real draw unless you're just using it. It's like an interim appointment, or like Steve says, that you're a young player who, and Arsenal are a bigger club than where you came from. But if you're a top class player, unless you're at the end of your twilight of your career, and you're looking for a payday like say the Williams and the David Luiz's, I can't see why you would come to Arsenal over any of the other top 4 or 5 teams. I mean, okay, maybe Tottenham, maybe Leicester, but the Liverpools, the Chelseas, Man United, the Cities, we have no chance to get anybody of that ilk unless they don't want them.
So, I mean, Neil, Big Steve mentioned young players. The angry one has said he doesn't think they have the same pulling power. But one of the things that actually draws a lot of players to the club, or at least young players, is getting talent all over the world. They might be young, put them in your youth team, develop them, and they become big and hopefully help the team. Has Arsenal also lost that? And surely Arsenal were dominating. Biggest rivals at the time in English football was Man United. Surely that should still go for them. And then once again, it's London, England, English Premier League. Surely they should still be able to pull players. Or is it just a case of players? If players have a chance to go to Arsenal, they will go because they want to use that as a stepping stone to show the rest of the world what they can do.
You asked a question and then about 14 other ones on top.
I know, man. I'm throwing it all out today.
You're just throwing it out. Well, I'll try and address them all one at a time.
Try.
Should Arsenal be signing players? Yes. Should Arsenal only be signing young players? No. Why do they only sign young players? Because I believe that they're on a budget, and that's one of the things they're looking for. They want to be able to get a player for 20 million and sell him for 70, or him be worth that. I can't see any other reason why they're only looking at younger players. There's nothing wrong with a 27, 28, 29, 30-year-old, right? They're still going to do bits. If you're good enough, doesn't matter what age you are. Look at Thiago Silva, 37. I mean, and he's still having a great season in defence, right?
Willian.
So, yeah, but they're mercenaries, right? You're talking to two different things, right? He went to retire. So, but he wasn't in the best form when Arsenal signed him. So, if they're good enough, that they can. But look at Pepe, right? He was a bad signing as well. So you can still buy bad young players. Martial for Man United, for example. Both really, really expensive players that have never set the world alight. 75 million a piece, pretty much. And you'd be like, right, we could probably get some far better strikers than that at different times. So in theory, buying young 21, 22, 23-year-olds is a really, really good policy. It works to try and build a better team for the future. Young players coming in might feel that they get some game time because even Nketiah's getting some game time. So there's obviously scope there for getting, on Sunday they left them. Is it Sambi? Is a holding midfielder, right, by himself? I mean, not really a holding midfielder workhorse that I think. So that to me says if I'm externally going, actually I could probably get some game time at Arsenal. Arsenal don't have the pull because they're not signing the other players to go with them as well. Do I want to be in a team with just a load of 23-year-olds or 21-year-olds who have just got a few caps between us? Or do I want to be in a team that I'm going to go and learn from Ronaldo, or I'm going to go and learn from Coutinho, or I'm going to go and learn from some really good seasoned pros that are going to teach me and take me to the next level, right? Because if I'm at that age, I'm still at the age where I can improve as a football player. And could I improve at Arsenal? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone has improved at Arsenal since they've gotten a team. They seem to stagnate at a certain point. So my issue with the young players is you can win stuff with them, but they're not improving week in and week out, and they get to the point where they don't, and it just stagnates there because there's nothing for them to feed off. They're all feeding off 23-year-olds that have won, in essence, nothing in their career, where they need some really big winners and leaders in that team that can help them through. They've tried, and Aubameyang, he is obviously not crowd favorite now, but he did really well when he first came in, right? And he was someone they could learn off, but subsequently something's gone awry there with him, which has been an issue. But that isn't a reason not to sign top quality talent. You know, they're after a £60 million, 21-year-old who's banged in a few goals, right? That could be a really, really good signing, or it could be a really, really bad signing. You don't know. It's the same with any football. You know, even Andrei Shevchenko, when he went to Chelsea, was a great player, but when he went there, he didn't do well. But my worry would be, who's he learning off? Lacazette's leaving. Aubameyang's not wanted. He's got Nketiah. So, like, he's going to be the talisman. But he's got, who's he hanging around with? Like Martinelli, that everyone's going, he's going to be this, that, and the other. Well, they've put him out wide left. Like, he's not even being introduced. They're putting Nketiah, who can't score for toffee, in the centre of the park. So there's a lot of issues there that fundamentally they're not addressing for players to want to come in. Can they afford big wages? Yeah, of course they can afford the big wages if they want to spend it. You know, they've got the highest season ticket price in the whole of the Premier League. They're in London, like you said earlier. They're key things for people to come in, and they're in the Premier League. But they're not looking at maybe, you know, £20 million midfielders or £25 million midfielders that would go to Brighton. They're not trying to compete with those. They're trying to compete with the big players that are at Juve. You know, Juve's still a big pool. Doesn't matter what anyone says. Real Madrid, Barcelona, they've got some respect.
One second. Sorry to cut you. One of the things you've mentioned now, and I wanted to ask Big Steve, is Neil just mentioned that they're now addressing the issues that are currently at the club. Now, what issues would that be that's actually stopping them from pulling in big names? So, is it just sticking to the structure of youth players? Is that what the issue is, or are there other issues?
I think there's other issues, but they need to identify the leadership. The leadership has been a bit of a question mark for the past couple of seasons, or past few seasons. And I take Neil's point about they need experienced pros in the mix, but it's to get the right character. There was, I think, over the weekend there was talk about Trippier's influence at Newcastle and how the way they see him, he could be a future captain. Arsenal do need some reliable, just good, experienced pros in the like of, say, a James Milner or a Jordan Henderson. They just come in, they're just professional, so the younger players can learn off them. It seems that there is some issues with experienced players at Arsenal because you've seen problems with Ozil, Xhaka, Aubameyang. That's not a good trend. But they do need some leadership. It doesn't have to be age-experienced players, because Tony Adams, one of the best captains of the club, he was 21 when he became the captain, and he grew into the leadership, but he did still have some experienced pros around him, and that's what Arsenal need at the moment. To get ones that are top of their game and come to the club, they're really going to have to believe in the project, because why are they not saying to themselves, I want to play for Man City or Liverpool or Chelsea? So it's the middle.
So do you see? Sorry to interject, Steve. Do you see Arsenal trying to compete with Man City and Man United for play? Sorry, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool for play. I'll take Man United out of that. But do you think they're even looking at the same player?
They may start, but then they'll get blown out of the water because those teams can offer bigger salaries and higher profile football.
But do you even think the salary is an important thing on that one? If I was getting courted by Man City or Arsenal, I'm not picking Arsenal, even if I think I'm going to get more game time.
Exactly, it's a bit like the striker that I can't remember his name, the guy from Fiorentina,
Vlahovic.
Yeah, he's saying that he's not going to Arsenal because he wants to go to Man City.
But we're still chasing him, though.
Yeah, we'll still chase him, but at the end of the day, if Man City turn around and say we'll have him, he will go to Man City. Whether he's going to get less game time, but he's got that exposure at Man City.
But also part of the project thing you said, Steve, as well, is about buying into the project. Who's the face of the project? If the face of the project is Pep Guardiola, even if it is at Arsenal, people are going to come. If the face of project is flipping Captain Scarlet, flipping what's his name, Arteta, then I don't know, mate.
But that's what I think Arsenal's gone wrong, is because they should be using Arsene Wenger as the pull. For many, many years, Arsene Wenger was a pull to get players to come to Arsenal. Even when we was back to getting in top four, he was still the pull to get names into Arsenal. And Arsenal cutting themselves off away from him and having a very young man themselves any favours, because he will help the same way Ferguson helps Man United now. To get players to come in the door. Arsene Wenger should be doing that for Arsenal, and that's a big miss for us.
So would you say, in terms of the Anger runners picked up the point that in terms of the face of the project. So the face of the project is the manager. Well, mainly the manager and Arteta in this case. And do you think, even with if Wenger was part of the board, for example, Mike, do you actually think that will also help in terms of pulling people in? Because he'll be up there and he's like,
Yeah,
oh, it's a wonderful
100%.
place.
100%. He's part of he's the brand. To be honest, he basically for a long time he was Arsenal. To be honest, or at least is synonymous with Arsenal. So even to the point when we got the loan for the stadium, he was part of that deal. Banks are saying, "Well, we're only going to give you the money if Wenger's involved." That's how much pull he had. And so with a bank as for an investment, let alone with players who want to play under top managers or at least be part of the project from a top icon, basically a footballing icon essentially. And you got Arteta now, and then above him you haven't even got a place where you've got the old school guys, the Tony Adams, the legends, the Henrys, whoever. You've got Eddie used to play for us, but I mean before that, what was he doing? You got Edu, you got Teta, you got all these guys, all novices doing their YTS. Who's gonna come to Arsenal over a similar sized team? Nobody. We couldn't even get that guy from Villa. What's his name? Buendia. We couldn't even get him. We got outbid for him, and he's any guy. No offense,
Yeah, but
Buendia.
outbidding might not be, not he's any guy.
But he's any guy. And then
What he's saying.
Yeah,
He's like,
and then
if I can't
Villa.
No, wait, okay.
And then Villa had the cheek. Villa had the cheek back then. Didn't even have Gerrard to then try and bid for ESR. That's muggage, mate. That says it all about Arsenal.
First of all,
Dead food.
First of all, any guy. I mean, if Villa outbeat the guy, it doesn't necessarily. That could have been what the any guy's pulling power was.
But he chose Villa over Arsenal.
No, because they were willing to pay more. Maybe all.
And then but then they went in, but then they thought, hold on, we can get ESR as well, and they bid for our player.
Yeah, but ESR had not signed a contract at the time, so they were like, let's just see if
How
this guy
dare
might be
you.
willing to come back.
Isn't the point of the feature show of Arsenal got the pull?
They don't.
But if Buendia is getting paid $5 grand, $10 grand more, like in the old days, you'd have gone to Arsenal, right? Because you'd want to play with Petit, Vieira. You'd want to be, Bergkamp. You'd want to be playing with those type of players that are going to make you better. And maybe you're seeing like that. There's literally, I don't look at the Arsenal team and go, "There's anyone that's going to make it better," right?
El Nene, Nketiah.
You mentioned the old days when people wanted to be playing with these players, but one of the big major reasons they wanted to play with these guys is because they wanted to win. Most of these guys,
they want to learn, right? So if you're coming, you're playing your trade between 18 and 23, you're still going to get better, right?
But the way the game is now, most players that they want to buy, they want to actually play. I'm pretty certain that if you bring that Arsenal wonderful team that had Henry and all those guys, a lot of young players won't go to that team right now because they won't even get a sniff.
But wait a second, you got to remember, those guys come to the club and made their names, Arsenal only started getting into the habit of buying established players when they signed Ozil, Sanchez, players that were. Bergkamp was not having he was established player, but he was having a nightmare at Inter Milan.
But he was still established, right? I mean, Henry wasn't having a good season, and he wasn't really that established when they signed him. I'll give you Henry.
Yeah, but all those players, Petit, Vieira, Overmars, they all came to the club and made their names bigger when they were at Arsenal.
Yeah,
I
think you're confusing a few things there. That sounds like you were over Mars with that, saying that Overmars didn't have a reputation before he came in. But they were buying. That's like night and day. They were buying top quality players still at that point. Did they have the same status after they left? No, because they were playing with way better players, but they were still top draw players. They were
top draw players. Yeah, not at the top of their game. And Arsenal only competing with Man United to get those signatures back then. Yeah, right. But when those guys were coming, they wasn't causing a clamour around Europe to get all their names. The deals were pretty simple, done and dusted. Those players didn't have a they wasn't choosing Barcelona, Real Madrid. They didn't have all those players, all those clubs after them. And coming to Arsenal, playing under Wenger, it was a nice project, and they could establish themselves. I'm not saying they weren't good players. They were good players, but they're not. You're not talking about how can I say? I don't know. I can't even give today. Like Haaland has got the moment. He's got like the pick of clubs to go to. None of those guys had that when we signed him.
Oh, that's all done now, isn't it? We ain't getting nobody in.
But surely at this moment in time, so if the structure is, let's go for younger players, invest in them, and then with time sell them, or I don't know if that's what the case is now. Surely a lot of established players will still want to come to Arsenal. They still have that pull to go. This is the structure we're doing, and then you could go. Well, I'm asking the question. Just wait. Let me just finish. Then there. So surely, if the project is we're trying to build something here, something new, and invest in youth, if they're going to get an established player, they could probably look at him and just go, "You could lead this. This could be yours. This could be you. You could be the father figure and all that." Especially if Lacazette and all them people go. Surely that should be. You don't think so, Angry One?
Well, no, because if you're a top boy player, you don't want to come and play with them youths. You want to come and play with other big boys who can
But
do the job.
the youths might be. I mean, okay, typical example. So when you had at some point you had like Nasri, young. You had Gibbs, young. You had Clichy, sorry,
Yeah.
young. You had less young guys, and of course, yes, you did have a mix of older players, but those older players were fading out, and Arsenal was looking like they were going to win stuff.
Okay.
As a big boy player, you would have gone there, right?
Right. Yeah.
So now, for example, if you have ESR, Odegaard, you have Sambi, you have Tierney, you have all these boys that are looking like they might develop Ramsdale. If you get 2 or 3 big names.
Yeah, but
and
you have to
can
get a
sell
big
them in
name. It
project-
has to be the first big name. So the first big name that comes in the door is then it snowballs into the rest. But it's that first big name. You're not going to come to Arsenal to play with I love those guys, ESR and Sambi. Who's coming to play with Sambi?
Saka.
No one's coming to play with Saka. Yeah, rather than that, Saka's going to play with them. That's how it works. If we had 3 or 4 big players now, like say we had a Lukaku, a De Bruyne, and a defender, and a Van Dijk, just 3 top boys. If we had those players in, for example, then other players might want to come. But if you look at the team, who do you want to come and play with in the Arsenal team at the moment? This is nobody. Oba's not even playing. So even if you were going to say Oba, he don't even play. When you go Man United, you've got Ronaldo there. That's probably about it, to be honest. But still, you got Ronaldo. Chelsea got Lukaku. Man City, forget about it. Liverpool got Salah. And Klopp as the manager. They've got so much other things going for them that we haven't got. You're just talking about a promising young team, and you're asking me as a top player to come and play with these little kids. I don't think I'm going to do it unless it's for money or something else. It's not going to be to play with those guys, and it's not going to be to play for flipping Captain Scarlet. It's going to have to be some other incentive.
See, I don't think Arsenal actually need. I don't think their priority should be top quality in terms of talent. Yeah, they need top quality in terms of character, in terms of leadership. Yeah, because you've got good talent, young talent there, and you need someone to guide them. So you need someone to come in and be able to translate the manager's message on the pitch.
But that's Xhaka. But he hasn't got the ability.
No, Xhaka's not the one.
But Xhaka's got the character, but he hasn't got the ability.
His character's questionable because when it's come to big times, he's gone missing. Be it red card, not putting the performance. That's not for me.
Fair
That's
enough.
not what
But you've always said, well, there must be something about him because he's played under every single manager.
Yeah, there is something about him. There's something about him which I just don't understand.
He's got character.
Yeah.
He's saying got ability.
Yeah, but he's not character to lead.
Anyway, let's
let me just go back onto one thing there. Arsenal linked with one player or transfer window, right? One.
That's the one they need, though.
Yeah, but they need more than one. But they're only linked with one. We're all having the conversation that we're kids, right? I mean, this guy's 21. He's young. He's meant to be amazing. He might well be brilliant, but they're not going, we're signing you and we're going to get somebody else in at the same time. So his promise is you're going to be playing with that current team at the moment as they currently are. And he's like, you know what? I could go and play with far better players elsewhere. Look at Jota when he signed for Liverpool, right? He was. I'm not saying he was bad at Wolves. He was doing all right, but now look at him going on to that next level. So he had that. So he's the opposite of whatever Arsenal are going to get in, right? He's made better from the rest of that team, and he's getting the service that he needs, and he's got great players around him.
I
This
like
is the
that you said
opposite.
that.
This
I
is the
like that you
opposite,
said that.
right?
So I have a question. Obviously, it's not hypothetical, whatever they call it. Adama Traore now in Wolves. I am assuming he has gotten to the peak of the best he can play for Wolves. He's like at that point that it's time to move on. Go and enhance my career. If Arsenal puts in a bid for him, as well as Tottenham that have actually put in a bid for him now, who do you think has a bigger pulling power to get Adama Traore?
Conte. Yeah, but who wants him? He's not worth 25. He's literally like, no, he is. I think Spurs were right offering 15. I think he's way overrated at 25 million. He's not. He doesn't even get into Wolves team all the time.
But you can make him better, I guess, is what you're looking at from Conte's point of view.
Better than
Well,
what they've
okay.
got, I think Conte's thinking. And that's the problem you've got with, and I think maybe he would get in both teams.
No,
Right
I
back.
think you're getting both things. I'm just saying if the option was put in front of him and he looks at it and he goes,
He's going to
and
Spurs.
He'll go Spurs based on Conte.
Okay, so what we're saying here is just to break it down in terms of pulling power for any club, it's your global stance, your manager, the face of your project, the players you have there, and the titles. Saying at the moment, Arsenal can only pull with the history, and you guys don't think they can pull with the manager or the players, and of course the titles.
Some players will come for the manager because of his supposed style of play, and he's meant to be a really good coach. Yeah, that's what is said about him. So some players will come for that, but they're coming looking at it as that's a stepping stone. They're going somewhere else. They're going to come in, put in a shift at Arsenal, maybe for a couple of seasons. They can stand out to get that to go to a bigger club in terms of what teams that are doing stuff now. The Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG. It's a stepping stone.
I 100% agree with the sentiment, but Arsenal aren't looking at that type of player.
No.
Arsenal are now looking at the player that he's going to go to all of those other clubs and skip the part where he needs to get better, right? So Dusan Vlahovic is at Fiorentina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which you would say is a stepping stone to go on to bigger things in Spain, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that means Arsenal should be looking at players from Brighton. No disrespect to Brighton or Brentford or Norwich, but that's where they should be looking at players to get them to better. And where Fiorentina are pretty much in the same stature as Arsenal now. Like I want to go to the next bigger club rather than where I'm at, and that's where Arsenal are faltering and struggling. They're not moving on. They think that they're a big club.
They're still thinking how they were before.
All right, guys. And just based on time, sorry, Steve, make your point.
No, go.
Okay, just based on time and all that, let's just wrap it up on the Arsenal sector. And simple question, Big Steve, have Arsenal lost their pulling power? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone. And Neil.
10 years ago.
Oh.
Me are the angry.
No, don't bring me into it.
I just want to know who you was talking
about.
No,
don't bring me into it. It's about you.
I just want to know who you was talking about.
That was cold, man. Damn.
These things happen. Anyway, moving on to Manchester United. Another former giant, still have a global name and all that story, blah, 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 blah. Simple question. Let's get into it. Has Man United also lost their pulling power? Let's start with you, the angry one.
No. And they never will.
Okay. First of all, you mentioned Ronaldo, and you said, Ronaldo being one of the things you mentioned was you have certain players on the team, and then you need like a big boy player to come in and guide them, which is pretty much describing what Ronaldo did. Yes, I know he has been at the club before. It's he left Juve to go to Man United. Yes, Fergie and all that story. But it is they're pretty much in the same boat in the sense they're struggling for top four. There doesn't seem to be a
They're
structure.
not.
Arsenal has a structure in the sense that okay, we're going youth. It is Man United is trying to get back to the dominance as quick as possible, so they're spending money and all that.
Okay.
Big Steve, have they lost their pulling power?
Um, Man United is a bit of a weird one. They have a pulling power in fact in their name, Man United. But if someone wants to go there and look at the project, they'll say they don't know what the hell's going on, right? So if you're a top player, you're still going to look at Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool before Man United from a footballing point of view because you don't see them competing. Man United, Tottenham, and Arsenal all have, how can I say, Arsenal doesn't really have pulling power in out of the three. Tottenham's pulling powers the manager Conte. Man United is because it's Man United. But if you look at what's going on there, it's a mess.
So based on what Big Steve is saying, and you say obviously the way we look at the club now, you can look at them and go, it's a mess. So surely the players and their agents would be able to look at it and go, it's a mess. But still, how come the pulling power is still there, even if you consider it as a mess? Why is that still there, Neil?
Money, legacy.
Thoughts?
I mean, we say that Man U were under Fergie were a big club. He took him to the next level, but they were still a massive club before he went there. You know, the best days. It wasn't like he plucked them out of obscurity and made them into the best club in England, if not the best club in the world at the time he was there. He did great things. So Man U have got the arguably if not top three biggest team in the whole world. So that's their pull. So it's a whole different kettle of fish. Man U isn't necessarily a mess. They've got Ronaldo, so I want to go and play a Ronaldo, right? I feel like I could still get in that team, which is a nice thing to have. And you're going to be known to everybody if you're in that United squad. And it's probably the easiest United squad to get into for the last 20 years. So, yeah, the guys are right. Like, legacy is the key thing for that. The manager at the moment is almost irrelevant. And I think maybe in the next 5 years, if it doesn't sort itself out, we might be at a different situation where Man City will become the team in Manchester that everybody knows first. Liverpool have done wonders again and started bringing their name back up to more of the younger people around the world that didn't know about Liverpool. Where I was a kid, that everyone knew who Liverpool was, but football wasn't the same as football is now with all the money that's in it. And Man U are living off obviously past glories and stuff, but they're still a much bigger club than Arsenal, even in the league.
Man United are just, in many ways, one good manager and a transfer budget away from challenging. Not winning, but challenging. Or that's the perception. That because when you guys finished second last season, whatever, even with Ollie, you felt like, okay, this is the season that you challenge, even though performances didn't necessarily say that you would. And I think that's even now, when you get to the end of the season, wherever Man United finish, there's always the perception that this could be the year. If they get the right manager and they buy the right player, then they can do it. That's not the same for Arsenal. It's not, or Spurs. Even though they got Conte, no one's thinking about Spurs. Well, Spurs haven't won anything anyway. But anyway, no one's thinking, oh, Spurs are going to go and win the title. They're only thinking that they could break into the top four. But if Man United had Conte, now we'd be talking about whether they could win the title.
Yeah, but that's what I said. There's different aspects to it. Yeah, put it like this, right? Man United don't have the pulling power that they had before, because if a top player comes available and he's got a choice of Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, same package, so it's not a fee transfer. Where's he going to go from a footballing point of view?
But the difference
From a
is,
footballing point of view, I was about to ask one of the questions I wanted to ask. Sorry to cut you. One of the questions I was going to ask you from a footballing point of view is, you mentioned the same package: Chelsea, Man City, and Man United. Neil has mentioned that getting to the Man United team now is probably one of the easiest things to do at the moment. So, for example, Declan Rice. If Declan Rice gets the offer from Chelsea, gets the offer from Man City, gets the offer from Man United, will he? One of the things he'll be looking at is what team can I actually just walk straight into, right? So I think that'll be Man United. But he could also be looking. I can get to play for Pep, or I can play for Tuchel. Chelsea's right the corner. I don't have to move house and stuff. So in terms of the pulling power I'm trying to talk about here is, and I need you guys obviously to help me, is in that situation, same package as you mentioned. Declan Rice, why would he take Man United above against the other two? Same package, remember, not like it's more money.
Man United are okay. Recently now, City are flavor of the probably decade now. It's been quite a while that they've been on top, but historically, Man United are just always going to be a global force. They will always be well, not always, can't say that, but for a long time they're going to be still a global force. So whenever you hear people talk about not wanting to go to Man United, the rhetoric always is, "Why would you not go to Man United? They're arguably the biggest club in the world," and that still stands today. So yeah, City are winning at the moment, and they're a big club. But if City had a one or two bad seasons and no Pep, then Man United are still a bigger club in name. They're still a bigger club in name, and and probably will be. Well, for at least for another 10 years or so, until City can eradicate that legacy, which I don't think you ever can. To be honest,
I get what you're saying, but Declan Rice, it would depend on what he's told is the project. So it's all well and good. People can say they're going City, but one of the questions that as a player will probably go to City is that what's your succession plan after Pep? Because Pep's not going to stay there forever. The same question will go to someone who's going to Liverpool. What's the succession plan after Klopp? Yeah,
Surely you won't be thinking that far if you're as a
Not
player.
the player.
they're talking about Pep's 2023. Klopp is a couple of years. There's not like say these guys are signed up to 5-year contracts. Yeah, so going to Man United at the moment it's all over the place. The draw of playing for Man United, and you know that the philosophy of Man United is to always compete, and they will throw money at it and pay you top wages, and they have to represent. But you will still ask the question as where are they going? That's Man United's biggest problem at the moment. Where are they going?
yeah, but Man United will always, like you say, will always try to compete. So there's always that notion that they will. They're not skinflints. They're not cheapskates. They want to. They generally seem to want to actually win stuff and compete and be one of the best.
Yeah, but they were like that in the 60s, right? They were like that in the 60s and I think early 70s, and then it went horribly wrong. They got relegated.
Yeah, that's fine. But
and then they had to come back and build again.
Okay, but at the time that they got in Ronaldo and they got in Sancho, I think a lot of people thought they're going to be Varane. They're going to be title contenders. In fact, it hasn't worked out like that. It's kind of hindsight.
Okay, so those 3 signings, yeah. Who else was competing for those 3 signings?
But it's irrelevant.
Which other team? What I'm trying to say, when was the last time Man United? When was the last time Man United went into a bidding war for a top player and that player went to Man United?
Yeah, but as a player,
Varane, I'm gone.
Yeah, but I think we're talking about from the player's point of view. Yeah, with Ligonia. As a player's point of view, I don't think I'm checking who else went in for Ronaldo. Who, by the way, City were after him. Who else went in for Varane? I'm not looking at that from a player's point of view. I get your point about looking at it globally to compare the two teams. Who do they compete with? But also you have to look at who needed them.
Well, how many players actually caused the bidding war? I mean, we hear that people are interested, but how many times do you actually see?
Might do. No one, yeah, it's all behind the scenes.
How many times do you actually see that clubs actually go, okay, we'll beat this, and some other club goes, oh no, we'll beat this.
And also,
that's happened. That hasn't happened in a long time.
And also, it's about what the team needs as well. So, for example, who went in for Harry Kane apart from City, yeah, but Man City didn't need defenders, so they're not really going to go after Varane anyway. Chelsea didn't need defenders, so they're not really going to go after Varane anyway. So there wasn't anybody else to go after Varane, and probably made up his mind to go to Man United. So it's not just about if it's a bidding war. If you only get a bidding war when two teams desperately want that person, and that rarely happens.
Okay, so Neil, globally, Man United still strong. What's it called? In terms of titles, nope, not as strong. But the possibility of still having the DNA of, okay, we're going to compete. can clearly still attract some players. But in terms of one of the projects, and you don't particularly think it's that big a mess, Big Steve thinks it is. So the face of the project, as we mentioned for Teta and Arsenal, right now is Ralph. And from what we're hearing is that he's not going to be, he's only there till the end of the season. Face of the project, not sure who's going to come in next, blah, blah, blah. As a player, do you still look at that and go, it's a mess? Because the next manager that can come in might not even like me, so I'll wait. Or with the other things that draw you to the club, like the global, would that still work in terms of pulling players in?
I don't think there's a project at United. So, like, there hasn't been. They've stuck with Ole for a bit and then they let him go. So, what was he doing? I don't know. What type of player was he bringing in? What system was he introducing? Where were they going with that? What I like about United is they always sign top quality players. They'll always look for um, that player that can take him to the next level. Like when they bought Van Persie from that amateur team, and they won the league, right?
This guy.
Had to, right? But when they bought Van Persie, and I think there was a great interview. I can't remember who it was with one of the Man U players were talking about. Like, if you don't get the ball to Van Persie, you're not playing, right? Because that was they knew that Van Persie would score goals and win games for them. That was what he was, right? That was what Ronaldo was supposed to be this time. So Man U will always open their checkbook for that quality striker, Andy Cole, Sheringham. You know, it goes on of like all the players that they'll get in. So the project, as far as I'm concerned, that Man United is usually through their youth, and they usually have a good quality youth intake and coming through. They've expanded and bought Sancho, but I'm not sure if they bought Sancho rather than not letting him go to another club. That might have been, to me, seems a bit more like it. They're not signing anyone in January. They're not buying anyone. They're not interested in even looking, and that says to me that they're not getting another manager till next year, which they know that they're not going to get the players that they want to get until that name comes in. Now, if that name's Zidane, they get different players, and if that name's Poch, they get different players. They're both completely different style of manager, which is why I think they get different players who are going to work for them. Poch needs to win something badly at PSG to just take his CV to that next level, right? And don't get me wrong, he might be a great manager with the financial clout of United and the pull around the world. Then they'll still be there. But projects, no, they need to put it out now that if they're going to have somebody in long-term contract, which won't be Zidane. If it's got to be Poch, is the only person that I can possibly think of that's going to sit there and go, we'll give you a 5-year contract or a 3-year contract. We want you to see it out. We want you to get to the end of that. He sits down with them. They discuss what his vision is and what that looks like. His style of football is attractive, which is good for United. They might not win every game, but if they can get back to an attractive style of football, that is going to bring in a whole different realm of player as well. Because they go, actually, they're playing attractive football. That's where I want to go. I don't want to go to the United at the moment. Like, Man U struggling in defence is something that you'd never think that you'd ever hear. Like Stam, Vidic, Ferdinand. You go before that, you've got Pallister, Irwin, Bruce. We never had that problem, right? Everyone, United need a centre-back or right back. They're already buying them. At the moment, you're like, they need centre-backs. And you're like, well, that's a situation you never saw coming at United. With one of the best keepers in the world, he's having an absolutely cracking season. So need a project, but they need to stick to it, and that will really pay dividends to them as well.
In terms of project, though, with Ralph and having to be the interim manager, and of course to talk about him going upstairs and the consultant with the things that he has done for other clubs and Red Bull, surely that's a project in the making. Wouldn't you say so, Big Steve?
Yes, it is. But with him going upstairs, I think you get better. The project would be better if he was getting someone to become the manager who he's worked with before. Not bring in if they bring in a big name like a Poch who wants to run the club, having Ragnick involved doesn't make much sense at all. To me, it seems like it's just going to add more confusion and disharmony in the upper realms when they start talking about transfers and stuff. Because what's Ragnick's role after this season? To be a consultant to what? And then
Well,
big manager who wants overall control, there's no need for him, to be honest.
Well, it would be interesting to see the fine prints of that contract and understand exactly what they're going to use him for. But particularly, I did think he's going to add some sort of thing to the new project and moving forward and some sort of energetic football. Anyway, so the question is this now. So, Big Steve, top goalkeeper in the Premier League, won medals here and there. Man United, Arsenal, who are you going to go to and why?
Top goalkeeper in the Premiership. Top goalkeeper, you go to Arsenal.
No. I didn't say eight of them. I'm talking about you.
Oh, me.
You
I'm the
you
top
are the
goalkeeper.
player. Okay, I'll start again. Big
Okay. Start
Steve,
again.
Big Steve, top goalkeeper in the Premier League, won one or two titles, playing really well for a wonderful club. All of a sudden, bidding war comes in. Same package, Man United, Arsenal. In this day and age, who would you go to?
Man United.
Why?
Because it's the point what Neil said. They
Why?
will always throw stuff to try and compete. Yeah, whereas Arsenal
Why?
don't seem in that space. They have to grow that together. But if I'm looking at it from a footballing point of view,
Which is the view you should be
yeah. Man United, as Mike said earlier, if they got a decent manager, they're very one decent transfer window from competing in the top of the league. Yeah.
Okay.
Arsenal need that project and players to stay together for 2 or 3 seasons, establish themselves, plus throw some transfers in it. There's a lot going on.
Okay. Neil Waddle Hinder, top goalkeeper. Biggest competition is Big Steve in the Premier League. The word is going out that 2 of you are going for the Golden Glove, and then the bidding war comes in, and then people go, Man United, Arsenal want you. Who would you sign for and why in this current day and age?
Firstly, I'd sign for Wednesday because they're my boyhood club, and I've got a lot of respect and love for them. I don't mind if they're offering me a lot less. That's where I'm heading to. The fact that you've called me a top goalkeeper, you've obviously seen me play a few times, JJ. So you've been scouting me. If I'm the best keeper in the world and I get to pick the team that I'm going to, does that automatically guarantee me number 1 slot?
In this day and age, does it guarantee you on most? I don't know. I'm not negotiating your contract. You have to.
Well, you're telling me, right? If I'm the best keeper, it's a hypothetical world. Hypothetically, at the moment, I'm not taking De Gea's spot, but I'm taking Ramsdale's spot because it's an easier one to take. So I'm going to play week in and week out there. You ask me, and there's no De Gea, I'm going to United all day long. But at the moment, I don't want to go and sit on a bench because I'm the best goalkeeper in the world. But I'm not uprooting De Gea because he is still one of the top 3, and you don't just abandon him. But if I'm not, and De Gea's not there, I'm at United. But if De Gea's there, I'm going to Arsenal to play. But I'd probably be going to Man City, wouldn't I? Let's be honest about it. Or Liverpool.
They didn't put in the bid for you, sorry.
Then I'm not the best goalie in the world.
No, but if you're the best goalie in the world, you're number 1.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to them. Going to Munich.
De Gea will sit down for me.
There you go. Good thinking, Big Steve. The angry one. Oh my God. Top striker just behind Eddie Nketiah.
Steve, you traitor, first of all.
Top striker. Yeah. Eddie.
You don't need to ask me. I'm going to Arsenal all day long. A is my boyhood team, and B, right at this moment in time right now, if you're looking at the Arsenal, who's in charge of Arsenal, who's in charge of Man United, I'm not going to play for Ranić or not know who the manager is in 6 months' time. I'm going to play for Arsenal. Plus my personal connection to the team that I support anyway. It's really a no-brainer. I'm going to play for Arsenal, and I'm going to be the main guy there as well. That they can build a team around me. And you're saying that the financial package is the same, and I'm living in London. I'm going to Arsenal, and I can still then move from Arsenal to City when they come calling after I'm top scorer for 4 or 5 seasons. I'm going to Arsenal all day long.
But why, if it's your boyhood club and like you signed for them, why would you leave?
I'm just saying that they might come knocking for me.
No, you have done a Lukaku here.
So 200 million. 200 million.
You have done a Lukaku here. In the future,
I'll go and play for.
Find me.
Listen, because the missus might want to live in Spain. Go and play for Barca for a bit. You know, like Henry did at the twilight.
No, that's Barca now. You're talking about. You said City. You didn't say nothing about moving country. You said you signed for City.
Yeah, Barcelona City. Barcelona City, innit? That's what they're calling it these days. No, but anyway, I'll go Arsenal. That's me. But because the money's the same, so it's down to, and even if yes, technically, Man United should be better or have the potential to be better, I'd go with Arsenal personally.
All right. I don't know who has a helicopter in their house, but ladies and gentlemen,
It's in my
try and
head.
try and ignore that sound. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from the guys. They all think Arsenal don't have as much pulling power, at least compared to Man United. Even if some would go to Arsenal and some would go to Man United. So we shall see what the future holds in terms of global face of the project, star players for this wonderful former giants in the English game. At this moment in time, we are done here in Grassroot Chats. Thank you, boys. Big Steve, top goalkeeper. Thank you. Going to display the gear. The angry one, taking the misses to Barcelona, even if Man City comes for him. So it's all good. And of course, Hood Wednesday, Neil Hinder. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful show. Please watch, like, subscribe, and do all that wonderful good stuff. And we shall see you next episode. Goodbye.